Anyone can find their genius by learning continuously from others' stories. Grant Katz, chef at Alinea, generates unconventional and creative ideas for his elaborate dishes by seeing food through a kaleidoscope and drawing inspiration from unlikely sources like music, nature, and art. This echoes Leonardo da Vinci's creative process of connecting the unconnected. Katz transforms Alinea into an entirely new restaurant every 4 months with a new menu, decor, and experiences. This constant reinvention stems from the restaurant's name, meaning the beginning of a new train of thought. Other creative geniuses like filmmaker Christopher Nolan and chef Dominique Crenn also find inspiration from outside their disciplines, noticing connections between disparate things. Paying attention to the world around you is vital for sparking creativity. Rather than waiting for a muse or divine inspiration, creativity takes hard work. When Katz lost his sense of taste, he developed a flavor-bouncing technique to ideate dishes conceptually rather than relying on tasting. This demonstrates that creativity can be manufactured through techniques, not just momentary inspiration. Great creators like Grant Katz uses strategic, logical methods to spark creativity, such as drawing concept maps to visualize ingredient pairings. Creativity requires consistent hard work and practice. It is not just fleeting inspiration. Successful creators have systems to manufacture and scale creativity. To create genuinely original work, you have to be willing to fail spectacularly and learn from criticism. Ed Catmull of Pixar says to aim to fail the elevator pitch. If your idea is easily summed up, it's likely not very original. Original creators have a unique perspective on the world, confidence in their ambitious goals, and a willingness to fail in pursuing something revolutionary. Imperfections and flaws can make creative work more memorable and talked about. Consistent tinkering and details analysis, like Chef Christina Tosi does, can lead to original innovations. The key is being relentlessly curious and open to experimentation. Mental toughness involves enduring pain, discomfort, and uncertainty for long periods. It is cultivated through experience and training. David Goggins transformed himself from an overweight, insecure young man into an elite ultra-athlete and Navy SEAL through immense self-discipline and intentionally seeking hardship. His mental tools included the 40% rule, you have more left in you than you think when you want to quit, and the accountability mirror, facing your flaws head-on. Manufactured hardship, like Navy SEAL training, can stress-test your mind and build mental resilience. Techniques like arousal control allow SEALs to regulate emotional responses in extreme situations. Seeking hardship daily builds confidence. Progress requires some pain. As rock climber Tommy Caldwell says, elective hardship, in his youth, was the best training for overcoming trauma. Enduring suffering is universal, but you can choose not to be a victim, says Holocaust survivor Edith Eva Eger. Reframing trauma as a teacher rather than torturer is critical to harnessing it positively. Overall, mental toughness arises from intentionally undertaking challenges and reframing hardship as an opportunity for growth rather than something to avoid. Victimization comes from outside forces, while victimhood is a mindset we choose. We can avoid falling into victimhood by developing mental resilience. Endurance athletes like Amelia Boone and Courtney Dauwalter personify pain and see it as a friend rather than an enemy. This mindset allows them to push through immense physical suffering. Peter Scott Morgan, diagnosed with ALS, sees his disease as a bully to stand up against. Framing it this way fuels his drive to fight. On a solo hike, Cheryl Strayed overcame fear by asking herself, "Who's going to rule me?" and choosing courage over anxiety. David Goggins created an alter ego, Goggins, to distance himself from past trauma. This self-distancing allowed him to build confidence. Creating an alter ego can help us regulate emotions, reduce anxiety, and give us the feeling that we have a choice in who we want to be. Moments that matter allow you to step into an alter ego and unlock your potential. David Goggins transformed from a victim into one of the world's toughest athletes by facing his weaknesses and creating a new identity. Beyoncé created her confident on-stage persona Sasha Fierce to overcome shyness. As she grew, she integrated Sasha Fierce into her core self. Kobe Bryant channeled his Black Mamba alter ego during tough times to switch into go mode mentally. Frank Abagnale successfully posed as various professionals by dressing the part. You are likely capable of more than you think. Reframe self-criticism into self-accountability. Seek productive hardship. Avoid victimhood. Toughness through alter egos can enable metamorphosis, but you still need strong relationships. Marriages and partnerships require evolving communication and conflict resolution. Trust is built through consistency, commitment, and communication. We increasingly seek connection and relationship comfort. Shared values and vulnerability build intimacy. Make deposits into your relationships through small gestures. Learn each person's love languages. Master the art of listening without judgment. Keep promises and avoid betrayals. Trust is built through consistency and time. Trust becomes inevitable if you consistently do what you say you will do over a long period. Trust isn't binary, it's like a battery that charges and discharges based on interactions. Aim to keep it consistently charged above 80%. Sliding door moments in relationships gradually build or erode trust. Choosing to turn away rather than respond with empathy erodes trust slowly. In arguments, focus on listening rather than rebutting. Tools like mirroring, labeling emotions, and speaking calmly can diffuse conflict. Well-timed humor can lower tension in arguments. Finding light-hearted ways to reconnect is essential in maintaining trust in relationships. The main ideas are that trust compounds over time through consistent actions, and can be built up or diminished in sliding door moments and arguments based on how you respond. Mastering listening tools and injecting humor in tense situations can help maintain trust in relationships. Lori Gottlieb's therapist helped her realize she was trapped by a story she told herself, like a prisoner shaking the bars when the exit was open. We often trap ourselves with the stories we believe. Stories give meaning to our lives, but we can become attached to them even when they no longer serve us. As a writer and therapist, Gottlieb helps people revise their stories. Leaders and creators shape stories that influence others. Malcolm Gladwell says the most powerful stories focus on underdogs and Davids versus Goliaths. Our brains are wired for storytelling. Studies show that people remember information better in a story format. Stories build trust and connection. Leaders should craft stories that unite people around shared values and ideals. Storytelling helps motivate and inspire action. To be a better storyteller, focus on having a straightforward narrative, relatable characters, meaningful details, and emotional punch. Tell vivid stories that capture people's hearts and minds. Advice from experts: show don't tell, appeal to different learning styles, use narrative devices like conflict and resolution, and remember the power of story editing. The article discusses how we are all unreliable narrators of our own lives, shaping stories to emphasize certain things while downplaying others. As therapist Lori Gottlieb says, how we narrate our lives shapes what they become. She helps patients edit their stories to gain a broader perspective. The article suggests trying to write about a situation from another character's point of view to identify blind spots in your own story. It's essential to understand when you're the main character and when you play a supporting role in someone else's story. Great storytellers like screenwriter Aaron Sorkin focus on critical elements like conflict and intent. Rather than telling the audience who a character is, Sorkin shows what they want through their actions and motivations. The competition and purpose are what drive the narrative forward compellingly. Overall, the article emphasizes taking control of the stories we tell ourselves and others by examining different perspectives, focusing on crucial narrative elements like conflict, and portraying characters through their desires rather than descriptions. Thoughtful storytelling results in personal growth and connection. Great storytellers can find something compelling in even the most mundane subjects by asking the right questions. No one is inherently boring if you dig deeper. Brandon Stanton of Humans of New York has built a wildly popular blog by capturing intimate portraits and stories of ordinary people. Ira Glass pioneered long-form audio storytelling with This American Life by using techniques like developing characters and plot to tell true stories engagingly. Glass says great storytelling has two core elements: a forward-moving plot and overlaying it with feelings and ideas to create an emotional connection. Legendary journalist Gay Talese wrote one of history's most excellent celebrity profiles on Frank Sinatra without ever interviewing him, just by deeply observing his world. Talese believes in developing an intellectual curiosity about ordinary people's lives. He advises wandering the streets and finding the extraordinary within the mundane details of regular people's stories. The best leaders aim to become invisible by empowering their teams through a bottom-up management approach rather than top-down. Spotify's CEO Daniel Ek sees himself at the bottom of an inverted pyramid, providing support and resources so his teams can execute their ideas quickly. This grassroots leadership creates a climate of trust and innovation. Restaurateur Danny Meyer also subscribes to servant leadership, encouraging collaboration and empowerment. He believes making new mistakes daily leads to innovation, not punishing honest errors out of fear. Nobel Peace Laureate Lema Bowie unified women in Liberia to help end a civil war. She warns against adopting a savior mentality. An actual change comes from within a community through partnership. The most effective leaders shine the spotlight on others, not themselves. They resist the urge to be the hero and instead enable heroes around them by listening, trusting, and empowering their teams. Here are a few key points on leadership lessons from influential leaders. According to Lema Bowie, authentic leadership empowers others rather than hoarding power for yourself. Go to other countries with a learning mindset, not an attitude that your education makes you superior. To cultivate a democratic culture, Robert Cialdini advises changing your opinion to your advice when seeking input from your team. It invites partnership and collaboration. Adopt a systems-based mindset like Shopify's Toby Lutke. Focus on improving the systems rather than just the outcomes. Use tools like color coding to create designs for time management. Sarah Blakely's bucketing organizes time into focused blocks for creativity, branding, product development, etc. Mark Lohr operated JET.com on the principles of transparency, trust, and fairness in management. Set a system of short-term, achievable goals that build towards the long-term vision, advises Coach Bob Bowman. Focus on the process over the outcome. Mark Bertolini evolved from a ruthless leader to a radical capitalist who invested in employee development and welfare. His leadership became invisible, empowering others to lead. The key is to build systems that empower people, be open and inclusive, and focus on enabling others rather than hoarding power. Garrett McNamara is a big wave surfer who held the world record for surfing the most significant wave ever, 78 feet. He prepares extensively to surf giant waves, treating it like an avalanche he must escape. Alexei Molchanov is the world's best freediver, able to hold his breath for 5 minutes and dive over 130 meters deep. He credits constant practice and self-improvement for building his competence and confidence. Risk mitigation requires evaluating all potential problems and solutions. McNamara and Molchanov show how building competence through extensive preparation can help overcome uncertainty. Bill Campbell believed the most critical quality in leaders is the ability to make good decisions in times of uncertainty. His fundamental principles were having sound judgment, listening to others, and being fearless in making timely decisions. Jeff Bezos makes high-quality, high-velocity decisions by seeking diverse perspectives, but not getting paralyzed by too much data. He believes bold bets that seem risky are often less dangerous than incremental moves. The most successful people don't mind uncertainty. They build competence, get advice from others, quickly synthesize information, and make decisive calls even with incomplete data. The main idea is that we can all become better at navigating uncertainty by systematically preparing, soliciting diverse viewpoints, and having the courage to make timely decisions without complete information. Alexei Molchanov, a freediving world record holder, says relaxation is a skill that can be learned through practice. Before a stressful event, his 3-part process is to observe your breathing, shift perspective to see challenges as enjoyable, and focus on one task at a time. Astronaut Chris Hadfield prepared for catastrophes through simulated scenarios, building competence to overcome fear. He says, fear is just a symptom of lack of preparation. Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton sees driving as honing his craft and building his masterpiece. Mastery takes continuous work to improve. Mountaineer Nims Purja says training helps you understand your body's capabilities and limitations. This self-awareness allows you to be prepared for the unexpected. War photographer Lindsay Addario learns to assess risk, knowing that miscalculating can be lethal properly. There's a difference between calculated and reckless risk-taking. Jim Koch used a framework to decide between staying at a safe job versus starting a risky brewery business. He weighed the pros/cons, assessed the worst case, and listened to trusted advisors. The key lessons are that competence breeds confidence, preparation overcomes fear, self-awareness reveals capabilities, and calculated risks rely on thoughtful decision-making. Mastery is built through practice and continuous improvement. Effective thinking requires constantly questioning your beliefs and being open to changing your mind based on new evidence. Steve Schwartzman, CEO of Blackstone, excels at this. Make your thinking falsifiable. Articulate what evidence would change your mind. This avoids cognitive biases. Surround yourself with intelligent people who challenge you. Ray Dalio fosters radical transparency and dissent at Bridgewater to stress-test ideas. Be intellectually humble, admit when you're wrong, don't let ego drive you, and don't assume you have all the answers. Howard Marks excels here. Develop second-order thinking. Look beyond surface-level cause and effect to deeper forces that shape systems. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos do this well. Zoom out to get the big picture, then zoom in on details. Toggle between different levels of analysis. Synthesize information from diverse sources to get a 360-degree perspective. John Boyd pioneered this with his OODA loop concept. Communicate complex ideas simply without oversimplifying. Munger uses mental models while Musk uses first principles thinking. Surround yourself with books and constant learning. Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading. Knowledge builds your circle of competence. In summary, influential thinkers question their beliefs, leverage mental models, zoom out and in, synthesize diverse knowledge, communicate, and never stop learning. This leads to rational, nuanced perspectives. The article discusses how people tend to stick to their beliefs, even when wrong or outdated, to gain social acceptance and identity validation. Changing your beliefs can feel like changing your tribe, which is problematic. But having an open mind is valuable for seeing reality more objectively. Charlie Munger advocates understanding opposing arguments well before forming strong opinions. This helps avoid becoming a slave to your beliefs. The human mind craves predictability and feels betrayed when trusted sources change positions. We often twist inconsistent information to match our existing beliefs. We join echo chambers that share and reaffirm our opinions. This can lead to belief in belief even when evidence contradicts it. Cult leaders present the world in black and white terms, leaving little room for nuance. Tedlock's study shows foxes who frequently use words like but, and, however, make more accurate predictions than stubborn hedgehogs. Intellectual humility and skepticism help avoid blind followership. As Boorstin says, the greatest obstacle to discovery is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. Will Storr discusses how we seek status by emulating people we see as dominant, virtuous, or competent. We join tribes, identify high-status members, and mimic their beliefs and behaviors as a gameplay strategy to gain status ourselves. Julia Galef recommends strategies to become more rational and improve judgment. Ask yourself what beliefs you've changed and what arguments counter your views. Picture your thoughts as separate from yourself during debates. Seek truth over ego validation. Avoid labeling counterparts. Anthony Bourdain believed travel should challenge and take you out of your comfort zone. Seek out hole-in-the-wall local spots, not tourist traps. Travel teaches you about a place and yourself. Reflect on what you discover after each trip. As an immigrant, the author struggled to conform and conformed excessively. This led to feeling like an outsider and a fraud. True independent thinking requires questioning norms, conventions, and your own beliefs. Paul Graham says people fall into 4 categories of conventional versus independent review. The goal is to develop your voice and ideas consciously. Here are the critical points on combating loneliness and building an engaged community. Loneliness is different from solitude. Loneliness is a perceived social isolation, not objective isolation. It's the gap between desired and actual social connections. Evaluate the quality, not quantity, of relationships. Few but personally satisfying connections can prevent loneliness. Don't rely solely on social media for connections. It can increase feelings of isolation. Prioritize in-person interactions. Find your tribe, people who share your values, interests, sense of humor. Having a sense of belonging combats loneliness. Help others. Volunteering and acts of service create bonds and meaning. Share experiences and be vulnerable. Deep conversations build intimacy. Listen actively to people. Make them feel heard and valued. Organize regular shared activities to foster community and camaraderie. Welcome new members. Make sure no one feels excluded. Facilitate meaningful discussions. Explore essential topics together. Allow disagreement while maintaining mutual respect. Clarify shared values and purpose. Remind people of the why. Recognize members' contributions. Praise and appreciation build loyalty. Keep communication open. Create forums for giving feedback. Balance structure with flexibility. Don't micromanage. Lead by example. Model the behaviors you want to see. Loneliness occurs when there is a gap between the relationships we want and the ones we have. Even people with money, fame, and connections can feel lonely. To combat loneliness, we need to pursue goals and a sense of purpose more significant than ourselves that require cooperating with others. This helps us build social ties and community. We need not just community, but a sense of belonging, loyalty, and meaning. Successful leaders like Lady Gaga and Taylor Swift focused on building loyal micro-communities around shared interests. To build lifelong loyalty in a small community, overserve members, build goodwill, and create moments of serendipity. An example is organizing meetups for newsletter subscribers to foster genuine connections. When starting a business, aim to build an emotional connection and obsession with your product or service by solving a big problem remarkably well. This creates lifelong loyal customers. Here are some key takeaways on optimizing your content diet from the chapter. What you consume shapes who you become. Be intentional about the information you feed your brain daily. Regularly upgrade your mental software by seeking high-quality, thoughtful content. Be aware of what and who is influencing your beliefs and thought patterns. Curate your media diet like you would your nutrition. Cut out junk food content that pulls you into negative spirals. Read widely and sincerely on focused topics that interest you. Depth of knowledge in a specialty boosts creativity. Make time for activities that allow your mind to wander and make nonlinear connections, like taking walks or showering. Don't overschedule focused thinking time. When reading non-fiction books, identify and extract the core insights rather than trying to remember every detail. Take good notes. Spaced repetition and methods like flashcards work well for retaining facts long-term. Test yourself frequently. Be an active, engaged reader, don't just passively absorb. Think critically about what you read and determine how to apply insights to your life. Surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking and expose you to new ideas. Echo chambers stifle creativity and progress. Unplug entirely at times. Constant digital noise can be mentally draining. Allow your mind real rest. Our minds are like software that needs regular updating through learning and exposure to new ideas. Our mental software can become outdated if we consume good content over time and stay updated. Conduct a content audit. Look at what you read, watch, listen to. Limit low-quality content. Seek out substantive, thought-provoking materials. Join communities that discuss exciting ideas. Surround yourself with people who inspire you to grow. Find friends with complementary skills to cover your blind spots. Reduce distractions and be more mindful of how you spend your time. Put down your phone more often. Be willing to challenge long-held beliefs and unexamined assumptions. Read broadly to expose yourself to new perspectives. Rearrange your physical environment with books, articles, podcasts to spark creativity. Good ideas come from building on other ideas. Monitor not just what you consume, but how much. Information overload can be counterproductive. Upgrade your mental software regularly through continual learning. It takes effort, but pays dividends in outlook and achievement. We often label people based on superficial traits, but these labels can imprison people and prevent us from seeing their full humanity. Labels like addict, criminal, or ugly can become self-fulfilling prophecies. We need to look beyond labels to understand people's experiences. Curiosity is critical. Ask questions to understand people's stories rather than make assumptions. This creates connection. Find activities that temporarily allow you to lose your ego and labels. Sports, art, meditation can help you transcend labels and burdens. People like Robert Hogue and Kyle Maynard reclaimed the labels society gave them like ugly and amputee to tell their empowering stories. Identity is fluid. We are not fixed characters. The person you are today doesn't have to be the person you become tomorrow. See the world through a curiosity filter, driven by asking questions and listening. This expands your worldview. The key is to look beyond reductive labels to understand people's full humanity and potential. Curiosity and open-mindedness allow us to make connections across differences. Maynard James Keenan says you can't put someone in a box or label them with one identity. He embraces not being defined by a single thing like speaker or author. Francis Ngannou overcame poverty in Cameroon to become a UFC champion. He learned from his father's mistakes who he did not want to be. Ngannou bet on himself repeatedly to get to America and achieve his dreams through tenacity. Matthew McConaughey suggests an identity elimination diet. Get rid of things and people that don't bring out your best self. It helps clarify what's essential. Dolly Parton stood firm on not giving Elvis song rights, knowing her values were more important than the opportunity. Establishing core values helps you hold boundaries. The author hates the 5-year plan question because life is unpredictable. We must bet on ourselves, take leaps of faith, and not define ourselves by plans or labels. The key is believing in your ability to course correct when plans go awry. Polina Marinova left her comfortable job as a reporter at Fortune magazine to focus on her newsletter The Profile full-time, even though it wasn't part of her original career plan. She realized the key to personal and professional success is tying your identity to your name, not a job title or employer. This gives you control over your self-worth. Quoting Anna Quinlan, Marinova says you must set aside others' expectations and make choices for yourself, not for approval. Define success on your terms. She gives examples of people like Sarah Blakely, Brandon Stanton, and others who found success by betting on their ideas and passions. There's no wrong time to bet on yourself. Create something that lets you tie your identity to your name and interests. Identify and learn from people already living your dream life. See how they got there. The book concludes that success is personal and requires meaningful, challenging work. It's not an overnight event but the result of persistence. Define it for yourself and put in the effort. The sources are listed in sequential order, as they appeared in each chapter of the book. Sources include articles, books, interviews, and studies. Specific URLs and publication details are provided. Sources cover quotes, stories, facts, and other information referenced in the book. The author tried to source all material properly, but invites readers to email any missed or misattributed content. Sources span all 10 chapters as well as the introduction. There are sources from a diverse range of publications, websites, and interviews conducted by the author. It demonstrates the research and effort that went into writing the book by fully disclosing the sources. The detailed sourcing allows readers to verify information and facts presented in the book. The source notes are a vital component that adds credibility and accountability to the book. Shonda Rhimes, creator of hit TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and Scandal, starts her creative process by daydreaming and allowing her mind to wander freely. She says this unstructured thinking time is essential for developing initial story ideas. Rhimes will then jot down any intriguing ideas or scenarios that popped into her head during the daydreaming session. These kernels often develop into entire storylines. She advises creatives to make time for idle daydreaming and not feel guilty about it. Letting the mind roam without an agenda is crucial for imaginative thinking. Rhimes also emphasizes the importance of solitude, turning off devices, and removing distractions during this early ideation phase. Silence allows the brain to make creative connections. Structured brainstorming comes later in her process. After the initial idea germination, Rhimes will methodically build out the story, characters, and plot. Rhimes leverages unstructured, uncontrolled thinking and disciplined brainstorming in her creative process. Combining free association and focus development is crucial in developing hit shows. Successful people cultivate grit, embrace discomfort, and maintain perspective through practices like meditation. Elite performers like David Goggins and Courtney Dauwalter exemplify immense mental toughness. Strong relationships are built on trust formed by deep understanding. Researchers like John Gottman have identified critical practices like accepting influence, showing appreciation, and repairing negativity that masters like Danny Meyer implement in business and life. Great storytellers like Aaron Sorkin, Gay Talese, and Brandon Stanton immerse themselves in worlds and characters. They meticulously craft narratives people connect with at a core human level. Psychological flexibility helps us face struggles. Therapists like Lori Gottlieb teach how changing our inner narrative and gaining self-awareness can enable personal growth and fulfillment. Across fields, success comes down to mindset. The masters profiled embody passion, humility, and a desire for self-improvement. They provide lessons and inspiration for us all. Profiles and interviews with influential figures like Al Pacino, Fred Rogers, Ira Glass, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Melanie Perkins, and others provide insights into their lives, work, and leadership styles. Writings and teachings from thinkers like Laozi, Robert Cialdini, and Esther Wojcicki offer principles for living, persuasion, and raising successful children. Stories of perseverance and excellence from individuals like Kyle Carpenter, Lema Bowie, and Brunello Cucinelli demonstrate commitment in adversity. Entrepreneurs like Daniel Ek, Toby Lutke, Sarah Blakely, and Mark Lohr exemplify building creative empires and billion-dollar companies. Leaders like Bernard Arnault, Danny Meyer, Mark Bertolini, and Bob Bowman reveal luxury brands, hospitality, transparency, and coaching lessons. The passages emphasize role models worth studying to glean wisdom applicable to one's life and work. Key themes include persistence, integrity, creativity, service, resilience, and personal growth. Chris Hadfield, Franklin Chang Diaz, and other astronauts discuss the challenges and lessons learned from space travel. Hadfield emphasizes conquering fear and making peace with death. Chang Diaz aims to develop technology to get humans to Mars. Conrad Anker and Alex Lowe were elite mountaineers who perished in avalanches. Their stories illustrate the dangers and rewards of climbing. Anker recovered to continue climbing and motivates others. Garrett McNamara surfed a record 100-foot wave and discusses the pursuit of ever more extreme surfing. Big wave surfing requires courage, skill, and calculating risk. Lewis Hamilton revolutionized Formula One with his driving skill and advocacy for diversity. His rise from rookie to champion involved dedication and joining the right team. Jim Koch built the Samuel Adams beer brand through persistence and brewing knowledge. Other founders like Stacey Madison persevered despite early struggles. Lindsay Addario and Nims Purja document humanity through war photography and mountaineering achievements, respectively. Their work captures the human experience. Matt Mullenweg created WordPress, which powers over 40% of websites. He exemplifies open-source collaboration. Overall themes are overcoming adversity, pushing human limits, following a passion, and telling stories. The pieces showcase remarkable lives and advice for achievement. Thinking independently requires cultivating skepticism and constantly questioning your own beliefs. Unthinkingly following conventions or authority figures leads to conformist thinking. Being part of a group can pressure people to conform to the group's beliefs. Recognize when your views are shaped by a desire to fit in rather than reason. Before adopting an idea, scrutinize the evidence behind it. Seek out credible sources to build an informed perspective. Avoid falling for misinformation. Status games encourage conformist signaling to gain social approval. Focus on cultivating originality and depth of thought rather than chasing status. Build diverse relationships to expose yourself to different viewpoints. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people creates an echo chamber. Learn techniques like steelmaning, arguing against the most potent form of an opposing view, to avoid biased and lazy thinking. Regularly re-examine your core assumptions and beliefs. Be willing to change your mind with new evidence. An unexamined life is not worth living. The key is to think critically, question your assumptions, seek truth through reason and evidence, value independent thought over conformity, and continuously reassess your beliefs. Blind adherence to convention breeds intellectual laziness and stagnation. Brunello Cucinelli is an Italian fashion designer and entrepreneur who founded his eponymous luxury clothing company. He is known for his humanistic business philosophy and ethical practices, emphasizing dignity of the human spirit and a healthy work-life balance for employees. Edith Eva Eger is a Hungarian-American clinical psychologist and Holocaust survivor. She endured immense trauma and suffering at Auschwitz but could escape her mental prison and find meaning and purpose through helping others. Her message is about the power of choice and letting go of victimhood. Jon Kabat-Zinn is considered the father of mindfulness in the West. He developed mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and has written extensively about using meditation and yoga to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. His central message is about living with greater awareness and wisdom. Malcolm Gladwell is a best-selling author and speaker known for popularizing concepts like the tipping point and 10,000-hour rule. His books and ideas focus on dissecting human behavior and decision-making in an engaging storytelling style. Shonda Rhimes is a television writer and producer best known for creating hit shows like Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. She broke barriers as a successful Black woman in Hollywood and encouraged others to embrace risk-taking and say yes to new adventures. Tom Brady is considered the greatest quarterback in NFL history, winning a record 7 Super Bowls. His longevity and sustained excellence are attributed to intense preparation, health habits, and competitive drive.